Good morning, peeps. Oh, what a day. Last night we had thunderstorms and rain and rain. And for me, rain is glorious. I love rain. And I love thinking about who I am as the person where it rains regularly. And that's what we're going to talk about today. In an answer to an email, we're going to talk about concept of self and how within that concept are all those manifestations you're trying to create. It makes life so much easier. Oh, we have a bee. I don't get bees very often. How cool. So I live at above 7,000 foot elevation, so things are a little different up here. We don't have fleas, yippee. We don't have ticks, woohoo. But we also don't get to see. When I was living down at sea level, the insect and animal population was vastly different and more. And so, yeah, I get excited out of a bee. But I digress. All right. So in this email, I had somebody who expressed, number one, admiration and adoration beautifully. And thank you very much for that. And then they also had a question about the things they want to manifest, a certain job, and doing well on the test to get the job, and other things. And the thing is when you're talking about this person with all these problems, that's not the person who doesn't have those problems. It's two vastly different things. You don't go from this person to that person. You can't make that jump. You can't take, it's like you have a sack of problems and you're going to take it over there with you. Because all that's going to happen is you're going to get over there and you're still going to have your sack of problems, right? So you got to let go of that sack of problems. And you've got to see that ideal self, your ideal self that has the job, that is living that life, the life where your mother is vibrantly healthy and you easily passed the test to get that job. And the biggest thing is gently, always gently, you persist. Even if your world around you does not support that person, you wake up in the morning and, oh, God, I'm still me. I'm still me. You are in effect still playing the person that has the sack of problems. When you let go of that sack of problems mentally, it's got to be the whole concept of self. It's got to be your entire self. And now, you hear me say words like you gotta, you have to. No, okay? You made it this far. You manifested me. You created me. And there was no effort there, right? You didn't purposefully think about the person you are that comes across a video of mine, okay? You see how preposterous that feels? How like that's almost too much effort? Yeah. Think of breathing. Think of the breathing you were doing a second ago where you weren't thinking about it. Now think about the breathing you would do if you were in a yoga class where you're okay, in this pose I have to inhale, and then in this pose I have to exhale, and then when I'm doing this I have to inhale, and when I'm doing that I have to exhale. I've taught yoga for 30 years, and that is the one thing I don't do. I don't ask my clients to focus on their breathing. Because when you let go of that restriction, that tension, when you let go of that, because when you're in this, oh, I got to inhale on this pose. Oh, shoot, I exhaled on that pose. I've just screwed the whole thing up. Can you see who that person is? Versus the person over here who's not worried about their breathing, knows that their breathing happens naturally and that you are going to be naturally inhaling and exhaling in the right spaces without even thinking about it. two totally different people, right? This one's a little more easy. So that's the whole point of when you bring in this concept of self, the person who has these things that you're hoping to get, that you're trying to manifest. See, there's you over here that's trying to manifest. And there's you over here who doesn't have to try to manifest anything because you already got it. Two vastly different people. This one is trying. This one is playing with failure. This one is playing with, oh, it's not here yet. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I got to listen to another one, a Kristen video. Oh, the answer will be somewhere in there. Oh, Now, the coolest thing about you is you get to play there. And it's still not you. You cannot be any less of a God. You can't take a God and be less. It's like saying the universe is infinite, or you could say the universe is forever expanding and the universe is static. It's like, no, which is it? Now, actually, that was a lousy example. I have an example up here about the universe, but I can't get it out. So just take your magic eraser and erase what I just said. Let's go back to concept of self. Within being this God, this infinite God who can do anything, you can play small. You can play a victim. In fact, you can play a victim in this hour, and in the next hour, you get to play, infinite strength and confidence and without even trying. You get to do both. And again, they're just blips of this God. You can't be less of a God. It's just not possible. You can play that you're less of a God, yeah, because you're that badass, because you're that amazing, because you're that powerful of a God that you can actually play, I'm not a God. Okay, but we're going way off subject. Concept of self. So, if you were living your ideal, which you actually are, but we'll play here. If you were living your ideal, who is that person? How is their concept of self? Vastly different than the one you're in, okay? Now, the reason I say go gentle about this, don't take it all too seriously. Oh, I got a bug. Bugs. Is that you gotta let that concept arise. It's kind of like this. You knew the sun was coming up this morning, right? Yeah. You didn't know how. You didn't know if there was going to be clouds. There may have been a weather forecast, but how right are they? But regardless of how it arose and where exactly on the horizon it arose and at exactly what time, you knew it was going to happen. You know it's going to happen. And you didn't worry about it. In fact, even talking about it seems preposterous. Because, of course, you could be in the middle of the worst cyclone, hurricane, and it's dark, gnarly clouds. But you know the sun's back there, right? You know the sun's back there. Your concept of self. So let's just take the easy one. A millionaire, okay? Just so much money, you don't even, you could pay for anything, buy anything, and you have no concerns whatsoever. You have in your mind who that is and what that looks like. But it's not that. It is that, but it's so much more than that. And this is why I say go easy, because the more we, if I lived in this house and I had this job and I had this much money, I'd be this. Yeah, you'd still be you, the God you, but you'd be vastly different. You really would. And so you have to let it go a little bit. You're going to move into I am, right? It's always your concept of self starts with I am. I am fat, I am thin. I am rich, I am poor. I am this or whatever. I am the person who has this job. The person who, I am the kind of person who, now fill in the blank. See, these are all I ams. I am the kind of person who makes it easy. So a long time ago, there was a woman called the Contest Queen. And she could enter herself in any contest, any kind of lottery, any kind of drawing. And she always won. This is why they called her the Contest Queen. And when she was asked what was her secret, there's that secret. What was her secret? She couldn't really answer. I mean, she could, but she really couldn't. Because for her, that's just who she was. That was her concept of self. I am a person who always wins. And that's what she said. She's just like, I don't know. I've always been this way. Ever since I was small, I've always won. No matter what I do, I always win. And see, that's available for you at all times. The fact that that example came up means that there's somebody who's watching this who needed to have that option come up. Remember, life is this huge buffet. And in the background is this chef going, you want this? You want this? You want this? Ooh, look at this. Doesn't this look good? And you can say yes or no. And it's that simple. But when you move into this space of concept of self, all these little things you're trying to manifest are already built in. They're already in there. You don't have to manifest that job, okay? When you step into being the person who has that job, and that's all you have to do. You just gently, imagine yourself in that job. Imagine that feeling of joy. There's so many easy ways of doing this. Taking that test, and it's a cinch. You thought it was going to be hard, and it was a cinch. You're the kind of person who can take any test. You don't have to study. For some reason, yours just like easy, okay? Is this making sense? All right. So it always comes back to your concept of self. And you don't have to be perfect, because a lot of times the concept of what you want arises and it surprises you. And I'm going to give you a great example. So I always say that I am a self-made multi-billionaire, not millionaire. I don't want to be a millionaire. I want to be a billionaire, because that word, those self-made, all these words by themselves, self-made billionaire, is exciting. It's so fucking exciting for me. I don't know why. Some of us want millions handed to us. Others, I don't know, self-made just sounds like a blast. And I realized recently that I no longer worried about money, that I could send $500 off to this person. I could do this or that. And there was no of the old, oh God, let me think about it. There was none of that. That was all gone. And I realized in that moment that the self-made billionaire, a billionaire, doesn't need to see the money to let it go, to play it's like, oh yeah, it's always there. The self-made billionaire doesn't look, I mean, maybe they do, maybe some do, but me, no. Isn't going to be checking their bank account every morning going, oh shit, it's just going down, it's just going down. They know that there are so many numbers in that bank account, and this account over here, and this account over here, and they have multiple accounts, and it's just like money all over the place. And they don't think about it. They don't need to think about it. And I realized that was the difference between Kristen Clark and Kristen M.F. Clark. Kristen M.F. Clark, the self-made billionaire, she's not playing this game of, I gotta manifest this. Who am I being? She's not worried about any of that. She's just living life. She's trusting. She knows the sun is behind those clouds. So I could be in the middle of a state of being that is a victim. I could be playing that game. And in the very next instant, the very next breath, I could be the exact opposite. It's like saying I'm a vegetarian and then 2 seconds later going, I love meat. Why? Because you get to. You are this God that gets to put on all these different outfits because you get to, because you're that badass. But again, let's go back to the bottom line of this video. Concept of self. I am, right? I am, and now fill it in. That's all you have to do. And you don't have to do it hard, and you don't have to focus, and you don't have to make wrinkles. You don't have to do any of that motherfucking stuff. Let that shit go. Please let that go. In fact, try to think that maybe the entire reason you're playing the game that manifestation is a thing, it's not a thing, by the way, that manifestation is a thing is because you can. It's hot. It's very humid. It's nice. My skin likes the humidity. The rest of me, not so much. We'll do a video on the whole manifestation is not a thing at another time. But look at it like this. The entire reason you have these desires, you have these things you want to manifest, is because you're already that. That's a whole nother video. But in the meantime, let's just gently shift your concept of self. You are that successful person. In fact, give yourself a new name. That's what I did. Kristen M.F. Clark is a vastly different person than Kristen Clark. Kristen Clark, no thanks. Never going back to that. Kristen M.F. Clark, badass goddess. Kristen Clark was a badass goddess. I just took it up a notch. Do the same for you. You can be the contest queen. Go for it. You want to win the lottery? Hey, it's there on the buffet. It wouldn't arise if your answer wasn't yes. You want to be a person who life is easy, simple, fun. Give that person a name. This isn't about the name. This isn't about you coming up with these things. It's about your concept of self. All those manifestations are built in. They're already in there. Kristen M.F. Clark, what she manifests versus what Kristen Clark manifests are vastly different things. Vastly different human being. Vastly. And you do this all the time. You weren't thinking about your concept of self when you became a 16-year-old. And yet you kind of had an idea of who that person would be. But who that person ultimately turned out to be was vastly different, right? But that's okay, because you kind of had an idea, and that person arose. And that person was perfect and fun and had so many amazing experiences and met so many amazing people, and it was already built in. Those manifestations were already there in that concept of self. All right, 20 minutes long enough yakking about the same thing over and over. I hope you're having a great day. Something I want to tell you is this. As you look at my background, yesterday, I imagined rain. I live in SoCal, and part of SoCal is the belief that we don't get a lot of rain, but I don't participate in that belief. I mean, people who think of Southern California think of beaches and Hollywood and things like that. They don't think of pine trees and mountains and 7,000 foot elevation. And yet, here it is. I've taken something that I believed looked like this, and I took it way the fuck over here, right? And, even me, someone who's lived in Southern California pretty much my whole life, I also believed in beaches, Hollywood, LA and beaches, that's it. And the next thing I knew, because I wanted it so bad, I always saw myself living in the mountains surrounded by pine trees and lots of trails and snow. Yes, we get snow and just all this amazingness. It dropped in my lap. It arrived. And I was shocked as fuck. And people who sit here and talk with me, my clients who sit and talk with me, are the same. They're like, there's no way you're in Southern California. I know, right? But see, that's just showing how amazing you are. The California itself, Southern California itself, is a concept. And when you allow yourself to shift that concept, your reality shifts as well in the most fun and delightful way. All right. Have the best weekend ever. Take care.